The Transformation of Persephone. Welcome back to another episode of Wild Feminine Magic. Make sure to subscribe to the channel. Let's get into the video. The story begins with 𝐴, a young spring maiden and daughter of the goddess Demeter. In the story, 𝐴 is naive and submissive, always staying close to her mother. One day, she wanders through the golden fields playing in nature when she spots a narcissus flower. She picks up the flower and almost immediately feels a rumble. The ground shakes and opens. Out comes 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻, lord of the underworld, and takes 𝐴 in his arms only to return underground as the ground closes and 𝐴 is lost. Demeter is devastated when she discovers that 𝐴 has been abducted. She mourns her loss by wandering the earth in winter. No crops grow. No fruit. Only Demeter's sadness. Meanwhile, 𝐴 is hysterical that she has been abducted by an unknown man and taken into such a strange place. She sees an underworld cave filled with rivers and ghosts and hears the howling of the dead. What is this place, she wonders. But 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 has been lonely and wants 𝐴 to be his companion. She is very afraid of him and his overpowering physique. As they spend more time together, she begins to learn the secrets of the underworld and 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 shares his power with her. She begins to fall in love with him and has never experienced feeling powerful with access to her own magic. A transformation happens. They become equals. He is lord of the underworld and she becomes his queen. Queen Persephone. But then fate strikes again. Demeter goes to her brother Zeus and demands that her daughter be returned to her. Persephone hears about this and reflects upon her transformation, the woman she has become, powerful in her own personal energy and self-sufficiency. Does she really want to give that up? She also reflects on her deep love for her mother and the beautiful golden world above. Persephone sees a red fruit and bites into it. The pomegranate tastes good to her and she knows that if she eats anything that belongs only to the underworld, she will be bound to the underworld. It is then decided that Persephone will spend half the year with her mother and half the year with 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 as queen of the underworld. What I love about Persephone's transformational story is that it's a story of alchemy and reclaiming personal power. The alchemy of a feminine soul transforming from victim to creator and wise woman. When the young and naive maiden plays carefree in a field of flowers when suddenly the earth splits open and up comes 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻. He abducts her down to the underworld to become his wife. His abduction of her initiates her virgin sexuality into the raw instinctual trespasses of desire and claims her as his wife, bonding her into sexual partnership and union. Persephone already has a strong bond with her mother, but it is unequal and dependent. Her partnership with 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 represents the next stage of her passage. She eventually earns her own power as the rightful queen of darkness and the hells and neuroses of the psyche. Her journey to becoming the tantric goddess through her willingness to transmute the darkness and return to her true divine nature. Although she remains immature in the innocence and naivety of her youth, she eventually connects to the deep power that is innately within her. She changes from an immature mother's daughter who needs to be taken care of to her true self and spiritual destiny as a guide and the keeper of the secrets of the dark. She becomes the tantric alchemist and initiator of the sacred way. In her transformation from 𝐴 to Persephone, the passive maiden whose life is decided by her mother and father finally breaks free from dependence. She learns about her personal power in the underworld with 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻. She integrates her dark and light to become whole. In this cyclical and spiral process, she becomes high priestess and tantric queen after having achieved tantric union with her inner feminine and masculine. This story of tantric union is echoed in the older Sumerian tale of 𝐥𝐢𝐤𝐞 and 𝐦𝐨𝐬𝐷𝐻. Both myths focus on the mutual vulnerability and strength of the lovers of 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 and Persephone. Their willingness to recognize one another as equals, makes possible a shared healing, in turn contributing to the fertility of the underworld. It is through the conjunction of Persephone and 𝐦𝐤𝐬𝐷𝐻 that the underworld becomes a place of fertility and abundance. Her destiny is as the queen shaman, the alchemist who turns the ashes of the hellish realms into gold and makes peace out of war and makes love out of hate, a resurrection from suffering into her divinity. Her magic is her ability to mix her own energies with those of another and transfiguring the whole into a greater aspect of self. In union with another, She takes whatever is available and alchemizes it into pure source energy and gives the same in return. She is the Tantric Queen. Persephone's process guides us through union, wholeness and integration. Her process of psychological integration teaches modern women to search for the lost parts of our own consciousness and integrate them to become whole. This awakens us to the deeper feminine essence beyond our conditioning. For women who have denied power for too long, this can be a very healing process. Persephone teaches us how to collect the lost aspects of ourselves where we lost power or denied our personal power. This healing brings us into wholeness. Persephone's descent and ascent was taught in the Eleusinian mystery schools, which came via earlier civilizations from Crete, Egypt, Sumer, and Atlantis. Death as initiation, rebirth of the feminine energy, the Kundalini, the serpent wisdom and the fires of purification were all taught in the mystery schools and were known as the alchemy of descent and ascent. The cult of Persephone began in Crete as Ariadne, the mistress of the labyrinth. From there the cult of Persephone went to Eleusis to be the center of the mystery cults, predating Hellenic Persephone. In Ariadne's story, she willingly goes into the labyrinth and is not abducted as is told in the Greek version of the story. Sicily and Sardinia are also known as Persephone's Island because they were connected to the worship of the underworld goddess during Neolithic times and Bronze Age worship. Persephone's story resonates in modern times as women learn to integrate the inauthentic self with a wild feminine self. In this way, Persephone teaches the rebirthing of wild feminine magic for a new earth. We learn this ancient rite of passage to initiate the new woman for new earth. As we learn to rebirth and liberate the wild feminine within, like Persephone, we too become whole. That brings us to the end of today's video all about the transformation of Persephone. If you enjoyed this episode, remember to leave a thumbs up and to subscribe to Wild Feminine Magic for even more fascinating content, just like this. As always, thanks for watching. See you again soon in the next one.